All right, the time is 6:30 and a quorum being present. I call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2023. Joe, I believe you had a comment about these?
Yeah, just the only comment I have is that the phrase Conservation Commissioner, just changing that to Conservation Agent, and that's it, at the top of the page.
Any other questions or comments about the meeting minutes? Not hearing any. Could I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2023?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is agenda item A, public hearing, request for determination of applicability with Stanley Thomas, 850 Old Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 99, Lot 10. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please come up and introduce yourself? Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm with Stanley Thomas.
Thank you. And if I remember correctly, we were just waiting on the mail notifications to be going out, is that correct?
Correct. I did send it, but it wasn't within a full week.
But everything else has
But everything else was
stayed.
complete.
All right. If there's any questions or comments from the commission. Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Just to recap for the commission, this is a RDA for a driveway expansion within the 100-year floodplain. So the applicant at the last meeting had stated that the driveway expansion or the existing topographic conditions are going to stay the same, so you're not increasing the height, width, or length of, so if the commission's okay with that, then they implicitly think that, this does not amount to an alteration of bordering land subject to flooding, otherwise known as the 100-year floodplain, and accept it as like a de minimis alteration.
All right. All right, could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability?
I'll make that motion.
Do I-
Close the public hearing?
Oh, that is a very good point. This is a public hearing, and I will give anybody a chance to comment at the public hearing. Not seeing anybody get up. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Now could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item B, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, John Robarge, 70 Regina S. Drive, Assessors Map 109, Lot 81. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
John Robash,
And Danielle Harrington.
And what are you planning on doing?
on Regina Drive, we're extending the deck over 8 feet. There's an existing deck now, 10 by 12. The homeowner wants to extend it 8 feet over
Along the side of the house.
alongside us. It's not going any further off of the house. It's going to be another 12 by 8.
All right.
I mean, 12 by 8, 10 by 8, excuse me.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Yep, so kind of similar to the last project, so this, the deck is being proposed in the 100-year floodplain. So if the commission is generally okay with the project, they're implicitly think that the project doesn't amount to a real alteration of the 100-year floodplain. In addition, the deck is at least 50 feet away from any nearby wetlands. So that's it.
All right. This is also a public hearing. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. But not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item C, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, Stephen Tower, 92 Rockville Road, Assessors Map 110, Lot 92. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
I'm Stephen Tower.
Christine Tower?
Thank you. And could you give us an overview of what you would like to do?
We're replacing an existing driveway that's just kind of crumbling apart. A lot of cracks and
Bumps.
dips, and it's the original driveway from 1969.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Are you just putting the pavement exactly where it is, or are you expanding the pavement at all?
Exactly the same.
If there's no other questions from the commission, Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
So this is similar to agenda item A, so it's a replacement of an existing driveway, or just driveway work within the 100-year floodplain. So just to confirm, the driveway work, you're not changing the height of the driveway at all?
No.
So just to confirm that, just so there's no real change to the 100-year floodplain. So again, if the commission's generally okay with this project, they're implicitly think that there isn't any real alteration to the 100-year floodplain, and that's it.
Just taking a look at the pictures. You said it's original driveway from 1969?
Yeah.
It's pretty rough, I saw it.
Yeah. All right, this is also a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so, but not seeing anybody get up. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I'll entertain a motion for a negative determination of applicability.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Joe, thank you very much for your help.
We'll just take a second. So before Dennis gets back, I just want to let everybody know, all of the notice of intents are being continued. So if you're here for the Treehouse one, Dr. Nitish Nahata, the LNG Main Street, 1167, 1177, 1187 Main Street, or the 911, 913 East Street, those are all being continued. All right. Next item on the agenda is request for certificate of compliance for Krista Withrow, 34 Valewood Circle, Assessors Map 117, Lot 11. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
Hi, I'm Lisa Stronach.
I'm Tim Stronach.
And could you let us know what you're planning on doing?
Sure. So we have lived at 34 Valewood for 31 years now. We sold our house recently. We have a closing in 2 weeks. And apparently an order, I have it written down, an order of conditions was not signed off on back 31 years ago. And homes have turned over on our street, majority of them, 2 to 3 times. But this particular buyer attorney is being pretty adamant about this being signed off, but it's, according to what we've been told, it's not lot specific, it's the entire street. So we are here to hopefully have that release signed so we can close.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission?
What, are you selling your house? You said I was,
Yes,
when you're selling it?
so the closing is November 13th.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
So the solution here is a partial?
Yeah, we do it a lot, Steve.
Yeah. I think historically, we're getting better at this, but there's a lot of developments that, for whatever reason, were never signed off on from the original developer, and now it's,
Yeah, I think we ran into this up there in North Tewksbury. I have no problems.
all right. Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, so just so the commission's as informed as they can. So yeah, as for the order of conditions is DEP file number 305-400. So whenever the commission reviews certificates of compliance, two things are deferred to. One is 310 CMR, which it's a really short section on what's required for certificates of compliance. And one of the requirements are if the order was associated with a plan prepared by a professional land surveyor or civil engineer, which the order indicates that it was prepared by Merrimack Engineering Services. Although there wasn't, the original plan can't be found, but the presumption is that the plan was prepared by a surveyor or civil engineer. So anyways, the requirement is if that is the case, then in order to receive a certificate of compliance, a letter of substantial compliance must be provided by said professional to the commission. So that's one of the requirements. However, other facts are that it is an accepted, roadway. They've been living there for 30 years. The original plan can't be found on our end. I did a lot of digging to try and find it in the archives and health files, building files, conservation files. It's just, even on the registry of deeds, it's not there. There's, maybe the original engineer has it, but otherwise it wasn't able to be found.
The biggest problem I see is in the day, Bobby Morris was an engineer, and of course, he's passed away since then. So,
So those are kind of all the facts of the situation. And then the commission can vote however they deem fit.
Yeah, an ideal situation would have everything we need, but I don't want to speak for the commission, but I also don't want to step on, prevent you from doing a thing that happens all the time in town with, these types of things. Is there any other questions or comments from the commission?
So if the commission is to issue a certificate of compliance, it would be a partial just for this lot. So the order applied to the original parcel of land that was, that comprised of all of Valewood Circle. So it would just be the partial just for this one particular lot.
Would the partial be acceptable to the buyer's attorney?
Yes, I believe that is what they wanted us to
They wanted
obtain.
us to have.
Partial.
Okay, we just want to make sure we're doing what's right by you.
Thank you.
All right, so if that's the case, do I have a motion to approve a partial certificate of compliance?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item E, F, G, and H are going to be continued, so we'll take those. Well, F is already technically continued. Could I have a motion to continue public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., Andover, Massachusetts, on behalf of Treehouse Brewing Company, Charlton, Massachusetts, 1879 Main Street, Assessors Map 84, Lot 18, DEP file number 305-1185 to the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion to continue public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of LNG Main Street LLC, 1167, 1177, and 1187 Main Street, Assessors Map 61, Lots 1, 105, and 107 respectively, DEP file number 305-1192 to the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And agenda item H, could I have a motion to continue public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of 911 and 913 East Street LLC, 913 East Street, Assessors Map 102, Lot 54, DEP file number 305-1191 to the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
And you skipped over agenda item F because it was already continued from last meeting, right?
Yeah, yeah. All right. And agenda item I, enforcement order, Kevin O'Brien of O'Brien Homes, Andover, Massachusetts, Foster Lane and map 24, lot 26. We don't have anybody here for that, but Joe, could you fill us in on the details?
Yeah, so recall that this is an enforcement order relative to failed sediment controls during heavy rain events earlier this summer. So the heavy rain events resulted in deposition of sediment within wetlands that weren't permitted for alteration. The violator had since been in front of the commission where he stated that soil was removed from the affected areas. So soil was removed, and he also applied a wetland seed mix to the affected areas. A subsequent site visit was conducted by myself over the summer, which confirmed that some soil was removed, but some soil was still remaining. So after that, it was in front of the commission again, where the commission was seeking a wetland scientist's opinion on whether the restoration work conducted to date is something that would have been recommended and whether any additional measures are necessary. So the commission was looking for some sort of documentation that states that information. And so what has been provided to the commission recently was a report attempting to address what I just said. So I think the report, I'll take a look real quick, actually. Anyways, I did a site visit within the last 2 weeks, and the area generally looks good. So the commission can vote to say, yes, this looks good, and just like keep an eye on it for another like year or two, or lift the enforcement order, or do whatever they think is best.
The most recent site visit, there's 4 pictures, but I thought in the original discussion there was a lot more. Maybe I'm just mistaken about where the actual extent of the, damage occurred. It's all looking much better at this point.
Yeah, so I think the pictures in the October 3rd, 2023 letter from Norse kind of capture all of the affected areas.
So you met with Norse Environmental on site?
No. I did not.
Isn't that what the enforcement order said?
Not to meet, so originally it said that I should have been on site, or Norse should have been on site during their soil removal process. But then we had later found out that the violator did that without any of us there. So then that's when the commission said, okay, you did what you did. Get another wetland scientist out there to see what they think, to see if any additional restoration is necessary or not.
Joe, was this because of those houses that they built on Robbie Terrace Way?
No, so this is, there was a permitted project here, from a Conservation Commission perspective anyway, for Foster Lane. So Foster Lane was a paper street near Robbie Terrace Way, and there's,
Along the back of it?
yeah, exactly. So development was starting there, and so that's why all the silt fence and the sediment controls are there, and that, there's almost like a dirt path there.
This was the access in to the
Yes.
building area.
Yep.
Yep. I think he's done everything by the numbers except for the first repairs or remediation, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's either, monitored over time, or,
So was anything done, so I know there was restoration done prior to the 5/24 date that's depicted in the enforcement order. Was anything done after the fact? Because that's kind of how we wrote the enforcement order up, because I remember the violator tried to do some restoration without an approved plan. So we essentially said, you're supposed to meet on site with the environmental scientist and yourself to see what work was done, provide a plan, and see if anything else needs to be done. That's what's outlined in the enforcement order. So I just kind of want to make sure that everything that we had written down is followed through with. Which I guess, was there anything done after 5/24, when the initial remedy was done?
so, no, there wasn't additional work after the remedy was done.
Okay.
When was this ratified? Yeah,
I
so,
think he had already planted.
You planted some, and I think the idea was, we don't know what you did, come up with a plan,
Right,
meet on
we
site with
wanted-
Joe, and make
right.
sure that nothing additional has to be
But we
done.
have a letter stating that it's sufficient.
So I guess even though some of the steps weren't done, even though the final looks fine, we're cool with that?
Well, can't go backwards either. It looks good.
Yeah.
And I remember, I do specifically remember this one because that was a mess down in there.
Yeah.
I think the timeline might be off, though. I think the ratification was done on that was from a May 24th, 2023
Yes.
meeting. And so I recall that, yes, we talked about me being on site and developing a plan, and I think he came in after that as well,
Yeah.
in like a June meeting, I believe. And that's where we had the discussion of, okay, we weren't informed at the time in May that he had already done the work without any of us there, so that's when he informed us of that in June. And then that's when we said, okay,
Get a third party.
get another person to come in, say, do you need to do more work, or is whatever's done good? So the last time that we left off was, we were just checking whether whatever was done, is that good enough or not? So I think the confusion is the enforcement order
Doesn't reflect.
doesn't reflect that last conversation.
So there's no documentation. So I guess just logistics more than anything else. So once this is issued, there's no documentation to update it based off conversations or future actions? The enforcement order, or the ratified enforcement order? Because I guess we're talking about it and it's starting to ring a bell, but I'm just kind of looking at we go back to order conditions 35 years ago and we say
Yeah.
this is gospel now, right? Because that's all that's written down. Does this ever get updated if we modify in the future?
If there's a vote to amend it.
And did we not
So I
act?
guess a third party comes down and says, was the enforcement order as ratified followed through?
Hold on.
We say yes or no, even though it kind of was changed down the road.
I have an email that I can put in the file if you want.
I'm just curious, I just want to know kind of, I know this is a contentious violation, and I'm sure there's going to be more in the future too. I just kind of want to make sure we have the right protocols in place.
Yeah, so I don't think there was, all right, so it was per the June 21st, 2023 meeting. The commission had requested a wetland scientist's recommendation on what the restoration plan for the affected wetland area would be, and if what has already been done is adequate. Yeah, note that there was also discussion on the need to monitor the restoration of the wetland at least over 2 growing seasons to ensure, so we discussed monitoring at the last one.
Okay.
So,
So this is not 2 growing seasons at this point.
no, but this is just the documentation that was my understanding what the commission was looking for from the last time, from June 21st. So, all right, so do you want me to amend the
I think
enforcement
we
order?
should, I mean, just for documentation purposes. And then I think it also gets into 2 growing seasons as well. That's not in the ratified enforcement order right now.
Okay,
Do we need to make a motion to modify?
modify based off of the June 21st
Yes.
meeting and to just monitor over 2 growing seasons?
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess is the
You want to
committee,
leave the enforcement order in place?
I mean, that's kind of what we talked about last time, kind of making sure that it was done right and that nothing happens again.
Yeah, oh, I mean,
Yeah, and it looks all good. I was just kind of looking back on our last documentation.
well, if I remember, wasn't this what, we had some interesting
Yeah, very contentious.
events that went on initially, I believe, on this one, too. So I'm with Evan, I say we do it by the numbers.
okay.
So would you like to make a motion to,
What was the date of that, Joe? June 21st?
Based off that email is the June 21st.
I'll make a motion to modify the ratified enforcement order based off the notes from June 21st.
is there a second? Anybody can make a second.
I second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Chair says aye, votes aye as well.
Makes the evening.
All right.
So does that mean they would have to have this wetland scientist back to,
For the monitoring?
yeah, to monitor next year, to kind of repeat what she obviously did for the first time, just look at everything?
I think Joe would,
Or you
a
would
site
just do
visit
that.
would suffice for that, correct?
Yeah, I think if I can't readily tell for whatever reason, then we can address it then and maybe have them do something, but
Okay. Yeah, I was
I
just
think
wondering, I
it's-
didn't know what that meant.
I mean, it looks pretty healthy down in there.
yeah. But, all right.
All right, moving on to agenda item J, violation notice, 165 Assel Street, Assessors Map 10, Lot 30. Joe, can you fill us in on this?
Yeah, so again, this is a violation that was caught like a few weeks ago. I've reached out to the homeowner and who I believe to be the contractor. I still haven't heard anything yet. So ideally, I wanted to just have them in front of the commission, see what their goals were, just to see if we could just have a conversation with them. But that has been unsuccessful, so.
Can we order a cease and desist work until they come in front of the commission or anything?
Yeah,
Like
so
that?
Do we know if there's ongoing work going on, or?
I don't, but I guess part of the question for tonight is, do you want me to just keep reaching out to them? Because a formal like violation notice or enforcement order hasn't been issued. Because I tried to just get them to come in first, but I can certainly do that.
It hasn't been
No.
issued yet.
But they've been informed that they are in violation, just
All right.
the actual documentation.
But nothing formal has been,
Correct, they're not like a formal document, no.
I mean, it might be as simple of a simple misunderstanding that they're waiting for that document to tell them, please show up. That's a possibility, I don't know. At this point, it's been on the agenda for a few, weeks now.
I can issue an enforcement order, yeah.
Yeah, if,
Yeah.
I think we need something to drive them to come visit.
yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Agenda item K, meeting minute schedule. Has everybody had a chance to review that? Are there any, is anybody going to miss half the meetings if we keep this agenda right now?
Yeah, did everyone get a chance to look at the agenda? I mean, it's, unless,
Same as always.
Same as always, yeah.
I'm good. I'm going to miss them all.
I still think we should go to 3 weeks, but we're not going to win that battle.
And get the stamp, huh? So do we have to make a motion for this, or,
can't hurt.
yeah? Could I have a motion to ratify the Conservation Commission meeting schedule for 2024?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Votes aye as well. Agenda item L, emergency certification, 17 Hemlock Road, Assessors Map 69, Lot 21. Joe, could you fill us in on the details?
Yes. Let's see. So this is just an emergency certification issued for a failed septic system. So they had an order from the health department. I followed up with my own emergency certification, and I included some conditions as included in the document, which is basically just using construction best management practices.
All right. Any discussion on this one? It's a pretty typical.
No, I'm good. Usual, right?
Yeah. If there's no further discussion, could I have a motion to ratify the emergency certification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item M, violation notice, 765 Whipple Road, Assessors Map 31, Lot 57. Joe, could you fill us in on this?
Yes. So this was a violation. Again, this was caught like mid to late last week. So this is something where, again, a formal document wasn't issued. But basically, if the commission recalls, there was an order of conditions issued so that they could do some work on the right-hand side of the house. So that's as if I'm looking at the front-facing wall of the house. But then there was just this pile of fill and an expansion of a driveway. And it looks like they built like a large retaining wall in order to expand their driveway, which obviously wasn't permitted. And it's about 22 feet away from the nearby wetlands, which also obviously encroaches into our 25-foot no disturb zone. So again, I was kind of just hoping to have a conversation with them. They were supposed to be here, but their wetland professional contacted me saying that they wouldn't be able to make it tonight, but they would be able to make it to the next meeting to kind of talk about the project. Nonetheless, the commission can kind of just air out, any concerns or any direction that they anticipate this going, whether this is something that can be permitted or can't be permitted.
So just to be clear, this is on the left side of the house facing
Yes.
Whipple?
Yep. So in addition to that expansion of the driveway, there's just a lot of patio work, which also wasn't permitted, and that's a lesser of my concerns, but nonetheless, just potentially, within 50 feet of a wetland, which would otherwise require a permit.
I mean, if I recall, this was a lot of work just on the from the initial one down here, wasn't it? With the violations of the,
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been going on for
yeah, well,
quite
this is
some
a,
time.
right,
And
this
it's
is a
like-
different set of
Yeah.
issues.
And like for the driveway, like, it looks like, it doesn't look bad in the sense like, it doesn't look like it's falling down or anything, but like, it being that close to the wetlands, it's kind of like, do we know how well it was built and is it at risk for falling down and going into the wetlands at this point? I'm not saying that I think it looks like that based on the images, but that's one of the concerns, I have just in general. And then the patio work is also like, they know that they're under a violation notice already, and then they're continuing to do unpermitted work.
So, yeah, so this site dates back to August of 2021, where an enforcement order was issued. They've pretty much addressed everything in the enforcement order, which was to rake back some of the soil that they had initially pushed in, which was written into their order to do. But so that part has been satisfied, but this is just a separate thing, almost in the same
So
location.
this is the same location, because they
Pretty much, yeah.
had done that mess and then
Yeah.
pushed.
Yes.
So now we bring in boulders for a homemade retaining wall?
Yeah.
I mean, it may sound funny, but
Yeah.
it's kind of what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and
I mean, this isn't by accident.
No, it's definitely not.
So this was part of their plan, probably all along, to have more parking. Because
Could have been, yeah.
Because I think they were talking about making the house significantly bigger because the family was expanding, if I remember the conversation. So I say the way I feel is hit them with an enforcement order and let's start the game again. Because I remember this person that they used didn't show up probably 5 or 6 times. If I remember, it was Watertown or something, the lady was from,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
the environmental.
Yeah.
Just for some reason, it's stuck in my mind, because it was week after week after week. It got kind of old.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with Steve.
All right, so yeah, should we,
So an enforcement order stating,
House,
Are they still doing work?
I
What's
think it's
that?
done.
Are they still doing work, or is that the final product?
I think they want to do more work there. But so the enforcement order basically just as a cease and desist and come here?
Desist and, right.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the
There has
way
to be
I feel,
specific.
if they're beyond, if they're, what did you say, 22 feet?
Yeah.
Right. This is not gonna,
It's not their first rodeo either.
this is habitual at this point,
Okay,
in my opinion.
okay. No, there's just, I just need to know the conditions to write.
Cease and desist, come
So-
visit,
Okay,
right.
all right.
You like that?
yeah,
Guys good with
yeah.
that? Yeah. Like that?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna watch out for him seconding something.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the plan, so because I wasn't here for the original kerfluffle, so the 25-foot buffer, the fence, and now this big patio is all in the 25-foot buffer.
Well, so for the fences are exempt, so they wouldn't have to file for that. So that's fair. For patios, if it's greater than 50 feet away from a wetland, they don't have to file for that. The thing is, that patio is probably within 50 feet, at least in some portions. So that part of it, they're already altering that area, so that's not my primary concern, it's more the work on the left-hand side.
But I mean, it's open for discussion if we bring them in.
Yeah, yep,
I mean, because we have plans from them.
Yeah,
and This is
exactly.
not part of it.
yep. Yeah, definitely. So, All right, so enforcement order to cease and desist and come visit the commission as soon as possible. Sounds good. Did you guys already make a motion on that?
I
think so.
don't believe we have, but
Dennis is ready.
could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
You got it. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And
So, sorry, I think, so I want to jump back to agenda item J, because I don't think we did the same thing. I think we just said we want to issue an enforcement order for 165 Assel Street. So it would be the same thing, I imagine, right? Just cease and desist, come
Yes.
visit us. I don't think a motion was made. So if you want to just make a motion on that.
all right,
I'll make a motion for the enforcement order for agenda item J as discussed.
and is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
You know, I went by that Assel Street, and they have silt fencing, and
Okay.
it looks good. I'm
Oh.
just, you know, I didn't stop and I just drove by. I thought you were already on top of that, but,
Well, I told them to do that. They
Okay,
haven't
well-
like said anything.
so what
to
I'm
me
getting
about
at
it.
is if they've done that, they should be here. I mean, you know,
The woman that I was in touch with, who I don't believe is a homeowner, I think she said that he's out of the country for a few weeks, but nonetheless, still, you can respond to an email, I suppose, with a contractor. But
All right, any old business, new business, or administrators' reports?
No, I guess it's just worth mentioning though that, so I am putting on a presentation for like the bylaw changes and the regulation changes so next Wednesday. So it's going to be virtual. I am going to record it, and I would encourage you guys to watch it, not during the actual event, because that would probably be a quorum at that point. So we'd kind of be in non-compliance with open meeting law in some capacity. So it will be recorded. I encourage you to watch it on your own time, or just ask me any questions about it, or I can send you the presentation once I'm done. But
So does that fulfill the public engagement obligation?
yes, so we're planning on doing like 2 public outreach events. This is one of them.
Are you going to put it on the SharePoint site, Joe, or how are we going to access it?
Yeah, so it's on the website, the meeting details, so it's like a meeting link, and if you need the passcode or whatever, all the information's there.
Okay.
And it will also end up on YouTube, the final recording, right?
Can be.
I assume that telemedia automatically puts stuff like that, but it doesn't have to. I don't mind. All right. If there's nothing else, then could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next meeting is November 15th.